Hi everyone, Amy here, and today I have a super fun technique to share with you today. I'm going to use watercolor paints with this brand new stencil. Now this gorgeous, unique stencil is called Delivery, and it's part of the September release at A Colorful Life Designs. And I am going to use it with pixie spray, so I'm showing you that to start. But I have some watercolor panels here cut down and ready to go. This is premium watercolor pad from Arteza. Here's a photo of the finished card that I'm going to put together for you today. Now to start, I'm just going to press down this stencil with the pixie spray on it. Now it's liberally coated, so especially if there's lots of fine details, the pixie spray is what's really going to hold it in place for this technique. Now you might be able to make it work without pixie spray, but if you want the best results, then I would definitely recommend using pixie spray on this stencil. And I'm going to use my brayer to push it down onto this watercolor paper here, and then I'm going to actually apply watercolor directly to this. So I don't know if you've used this technique before, but it really has such a beautiful end result, and it's a fun way to kind of play with your watercolor paints if you have those in your crafty stash. So I have this little travel set of koi watercolor paints. That's one of the first watercolor sets that I got, I think, when I started making cards, and it's been a little neglected. So I'm just going to put a myriad of colors here with my water brush pen from Arteza on this little palette that comes with the kit. Now this always seems iffy when you're doing it, but it oftentimes works very well and has a surprising result. So the key is to just really make sure you use that pixie spray on the back of your stencil. Give it a minute so it's not super wet. Let it get nice and tacky, and then press it down really well into your watercolor paper, and then you might be really surprised with the results. But this release here at A Colorful Life Designs for September is chock full of adorable baby related stencils. Now, Mary Kay, who is the owner of A Colorful Life Designs, she is in Texas, and she is about to become a grandma for the first time. So she is very excited, definitely has babies on the mind, and it shows with this fun September release. So if you need to make new baby cards or welcome baby cards or anything like that, you don't want to miss this release, because there is so many really cool, unique, and innovative stencils in this release. But if you're not into baby cards, there's tons of other stuff too that you can use just, for regular year-round usage. So be sure to check it out. And I do have a coupon, AmyFan10. If you shop, you'll save 10% on your complete order. So you can see here, I'm just using pretty loose watercolor. I have quite a bit of water, but I am coming back in. I want to intensify the color a little bit. So I'm coming back with my little, water jar there and right directly in the palette, just to kind of amp up the colors a little bit. I'm just kind of going over, I'm envisioning, sunrise with this stork delivery. So it's got this kind of cool vintage feel to it. So I'm just going to set this aside. Now here, I really coated it well with the pixie spray, and with these little delicate bits, it was a challenge pulling it up. I really thought as I was removing this that it wasn't going to work, that it was going to be messed up. I thought for sure the ink got underneath it, or the watercolor got underneath the stencil. You can see these little bits. It's delicate, but I just had to put a little elbow grease in it, and voila. I mean, even that little fine line on the top of the stork's wing, it even came through with that detail. So really happy with how that turned out. I just set that aside to dry, and now I'm coming in with an infinity die, Hero Arts circle die, one that kind of lines up perfectly with this design, and I'm going to cut it out directly out of this panel of watercolor paper, because I want this circle to really be the focal point on my finished card. So I ran that through my die cutting machine off screen, and I'm just carefully removing this mint tape because it's on there pretty well. You don't want to tear your pretty design that you just made, but you got this gorgeous texture from the watercolor paper, and then the fun watercolor look, which is, unexpected, especially when you think about using it with a stencil. Now here I want to pop up the circle with even dimension. So I have this adhesive backed colored fun foam, and I'm just going to run it through with the same die in my embossing or die cutting machine off screen. And I'm just going to attach that right to the back of this watercolor panel. So that'll give me that nice pop of color when you look at the card from the side, but it'll give it nice even dimension for shipping, so it won't have any little saggy bits from transit. And then I'm going to use liquid glue to just attach this panel directly to this piece of foam. So I'm just going to set that on top of there, and then put an acrylic block on top just to kind of weigh it down and give it a minute to adhere. Now here I have just a regular card base. It's 110-pound Neenah Classic Crest Solar White, and I have this little welcome little one that is a sentiment strip from Tailored Expressions, and I'm trying to get this residual ink off of my blending brush. I wanted it to be really subtle. I didn't want it to be too bright purple, so I was getting that extra ink off. And this is the beloved Cloud Edger stencil. This was actually my very first stencil that I ever got from a Colorful Life Designs, and basically how I discovered the company. But I had to have it because it's got these much more realistic looking edges to create a cloud background. So I'm just using that very subtle purple color with just residual ink on my blending brush that kind of matches the little lavender sentiment strip, just to kind of tie that into the design, but to add some visual interest onto the card base. So it looks like clouds that the stork is flying through. Now here I'm kind of debating, like, do I want it plain white? Do I want this stenciled background? So you tell me, did I make the right choice? Ultimately, I decided to go with the clouds. I think I even called my husband in to ask him what he thought, because I couldn't decide if I wanted it just stark white or if I wanted this cloud background. So ultimately, I decided to go with the cloud background. And then as far as attaching the panel, it's easy peasy. I basically made that a big sticker. So I can just remove the backer and then lay this big, gorgeous focal point right down left of center, just because that's the composition I wanted to go for. And this is a top fold card, so it's horizontal in orientation. And then I'm just going to use this little bit of foam strip off to the side just to support the sentiment strip where it's overhanging the watercolor panel. And then I'll use liquid glue to attach it over the little round panel. So basically, these are the main components of the card finished. It does have that dimension from, the panel being popped up in the little sentiment strip. And then I decided I want to come in with some blingage. So I have these gorgeous iridescent sequins here, and I'm just going to put them in odd numbers around the composition with some liquid glue and my jewel picker tool. But other than that, that is going to complete the design. So I don't know if you've ever tried watercoloring with stencils before, but I don't know, it's really fun, and I'm always happy with how it turns out. So let me know in the comments if you've given this technique a try, or if you're inspired to give it a try. I'd love to hear from you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and consider subscribing, and I appreciate you spending time with me today. Thanks for watching. Bye.